General Guillot, as the chairman mentioned in his opening statements, I have legislation with Senator Gillibrand to address the drone threat here in America. We seem to have drones just flying around everywhere, and many times people don't know what's going on, most notably in the public eye late last year in New Jersey. This is also happening around our military bases a lot. You've had drone incursions over Joint Base Langley, Wright-Patt Air Force Base, Vandenberg Space Force Base, Picatinny Arsenal, Anderson Air Force Base. Could you explain to us briefly what is the threat that these drones pose to U.S. military operations, facilities, and personnel?
Senator, the primary threat I see for them in the way they've been operating is detection and perhaps surveillance of sensitive capabilities on our installations.
And that's all installation, not just super sensitive ones like nuclear sites. It could be our fighter bases or Army bases or naval bases or what have you.
Yes, sir. There were 350 detections reported last year on military installations, and that was 350 over a total of 100 different installations of all types and levels of security.
Yeah. But it's the case right now that only at certain sites, which you might call the super sensitive sites, like nuclear bases, do commanders have the authority to protect their airspace from these drone incursions.
That's correct, Senator. We call those covered installations, and not all about half are covered.
Which sounds crazy to me, and I think most Americans would think it doesn't show a lot of common sense. I mean, base commanders at every base around America, they have the authority and they have the capability to protect their perimeters. Say if some terrorists got a dump truck and drove it through the front gate, or were trying to breach the perimeter fence, we would expect base commanders to protect their base with force if necessary. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir, and I would propose and advocate for expansion of 130I to include all military installations, not just covered installations.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I have legislation to do just that,
right.
The counteract with Senator Gillibrand, that again would give these commanders the legal authority they need, plus the capability required to protect their bases from these kinds of incursions, and then hold them accountable for doing so. Is that exactly what you're advocating for?
That is, sir, and if I could add, I'd also like to see the range expanded to slightly beyond the installation, so they don't have to wait for the threat to get over the installation before they can address it, because many of these systems can use side-looking or slant range, and so they could surveil the base from outside the perimeter, and under the current authorities, we can't address that.
Even better. Now, last year you also said there were thousands of drone incursions over the southern border, and just last week, Mexican cartel leaders were reportedly authorized to use drones equipped with explosives against U.S. Border Patrol agents. Now, I know that this is primarily a DHS responsibility at the southern border, but do you need authorization for DOD to share information with DHS and the border authorities about these incursions?
Yes, Senator. I would like 130I to be expanded to allow seamless exchange of data on drones.
Again, sounds like a great idea. I'm glad that Senator Gillibrand and I have legislation to do just that, and I hope that we can pass it into law this year. Thank you, Admiral. I know that the Navy is responsible for Guantanamo Bay, but Southern Command is responsible for some of the operations there, to include the operations, I gather, of the violent illegal migrants who were recently transported. Could you give us a little bit of sense of the security measures in place that protect against any risk of violent criminals and terrorists being held at Gitmo?
Senator, the JTF Gitmo is the detention facility. We have highly trained military police who come down on rotation with the guards force. They're on a one-year rotation. They're highly qualified. They've been trained to do their mission. They've been doing it for years throughout. So again, I think they're very capable of force, and they're ready to deal with any situation.
And you're confident that your personnel are trained and ready to do that and are safe in doing so?
100%, sir.
That's great, because I'm also very confident that it's much safer to have depraved, savage criminals from other countries waiting at Guantanamo Bay for deportation than it is to have them waiting at a base on the American mainland soil, where we hope they'd never be able to cause any problems, but you never know. There are American citizens on those bases and just outside those bases. Gentlemen, thank you again both for your appearance.
Sure.
Excellent point.